Do we finally know what Luffy's real dream is? Not to become Pirate King, but the one that Oda-sensei has only hinted at in his flashback with Sabo and Ace. The exact same dream that also Roger had and that inspired people like Crocus, Shanks, and Rayleigh to put all their faith into a rubbery boy to change the world. Well, I think that chapter 1049 of One Piece really seems to suggest so. At the climax of the epic battle between Luffy and Kaido, both of them attacking with what seems like their last ultimate techniques, the Emperor asks Luffy what kind of world he wants to make if he's actually strong enough to change it. And in a series of 3 absolutely incredible double spreads, Luffy replies that he wants to make a world in which his friends can eat and drink as much as they wish. I can't even begin to explain the sort of goosebumps that this gave me. Now, why do I think that this answer not only makes a ton of sense, but more importantly, also wonderfully embodies the main theme and message of One Piece as a story? Because there is a lot packed into this little statement. One big theory that I heard being thrown around a while ago is that Luffy's real dream might be to have a giant banquet with all of his friends, based on the fact that the end of every major arc and victory for the crew kind of has Luffy celebrating it with a feast. Which honestly I think was really close, but did not quite hit the mark. Because just one giant banquet would imply that Luffy's biggest desire would be having one giant event with all his friends laughing and feasting together, which I absolutely do think will happen, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't quite address the main theme of the story: freedom. The fact that Luffy wants to make a world where everyone can eat as much as they want, I mean, friends and food, the 2 things that he loves the most in this world, implies that he wants him to have the freedom to live the happiest life that he can imagine. In other words, to me, it's kind of the most Luffy way of saying that he wants to liberate the world. It takes Luffy's biggest quirk as a character, eating like there is no tomorrow, and connecting it to the central moral message of One Piece, which I just found absolutely beautiful. The banquets that Luffy had so far always are a celebration of life among equals that now are free to do whatever they like. Eat, drink, sing, dance, because as we know, at this point, Luffy is basically friends with everyone in the world, except those who stand in the way of everyone else's happiness. In a world where most people live in poverty and despair, ruled by a small group of people that have all the wealth and luxury, I would argue that means that Luffy's goal is to take down the world nobles and free the world, which ironically is exactly what Kaido's goal is. Whose flashback, by the way, I'm just pumped to discuss in just a moment, of course, as well. And so even more awesomely, is awesomely a word? Well, now it is. Even more awesomely, the theme of eating and drinking as much as one likes not only references the story as a whole, but of course also connects wonderfully to the themes of Wano in particular as well. A country that is starving and has no clean water to drink. An arc that literally started with Luffy being gifted the little bit of Tama's rice that she actually had to eat. And so he shouts his dream for a better world at the climax of the raid on Onigashima, where Kaido has been holding a yearly banquet with all the food and all the drinks anyone could want, but only for his men and those few who are actually in power. And so even though Luffy and Kaido share the exact same goal in a way, freeing the world, Kaido has taken the wrong path to get there, becoming what he hated the most in the process. Don't you find it ironic as well that we see Kaido literally declaring war on the nobles that took away his freedom and that of the people he loved by creating a de facto system of world nobles inside Wano itself? Because that is Kaido's big flaw as a character that in the end only Luffy will be able to make him see and realize. It's actually very similar to Big Mom, I feel, now that I think about it, because she has created an actual country made out of food, also pretty much based on Luffy's dream, only that here the people are of course not really free to do whatever they want and live a happy life. Though, let's be real, it's a lot better than Wano in the end. And so 2 of the Yonkos have basically started where Luffy did, only that where Kaido and Big Mom lost their course somewhere along the way and turned into villains, Luffy will be the one who actually succeeds in making this dream a reality, most importantly, without becoming the bad guy in the process. I mean, that's what always has made Luffy special and why I love this chapter and the reveal of Luffy's actual dream so much. Also, did you notice how young Big Mom is very similar to young Luffy, genuinely kind and caring, or how young Kaido in this chapter basically looks like a young Luffy but with horns? And actually, since we're on the topic right now, let me share my thoughts on Kaido's flashback that we got in this chapter as well. Okay, so as you will notice, I absolutely loved the overall story of how Kaido became the person who he is today, and I will go into detail here in just a moment. But I do have to get this one thing off my chest first, because if this is gonna be everything that we're gonna get for his past, that would be way too short for me personally, at least. This is the final villain of not only the longest arc in all of One Piece, but also the entire Yonko saga past the time skip. I mean, Kaido has gotten a ton of absolutely next level character development during Onigashima, but I just really want to see more details and more interactions from his past. Like, at least an entire chapter or 2 or 3 or 4. I want to see more of Kaido interacting with young Big Mom and Whitebeard, and I do get that Oda-sensei is probably saving a lot of that for when he's actually gonna reveal Rocks and his past, but still, I really think that Kaido is interesting and important to the story right now, not like 100 chapters from now. And so if this is it, if this is all we're gonna get, not quite long enough for me personally. I want to see more. However, that being said, what gives me a lot of hope, honestly, that we will see a lot more from Kaido's past is the fact that we still don't know a lot about, for example, why he was experimented on, how he recruited the rest of his men, how he learned about Joy Boy in the first place, and so on and so forth. So truly, fingers crossed for some more. The flashback that we did get so far though, content-wise at least, was just so good. I mean, I love the fact that Kaido is from a kingdom that's literally called vodka, given that he is a pretty bad alcoholic. How he made a name for himself as his country's strongest warrior at the age of 10, only to be sold off to the Marines by the king for the chance to get more power by getting access to the reverie. He basically comes from an island that did war and plundering as its main job to raise enough money for the heavenly tribute, which is basically protection money a country has to pay to the world government to not be attacked by them. Actually, it kind of feels like the world government is sort of a mafia that runs the entire planet, actually. And so this explains a lot of Kaido's character traits. He has known nothing but war ever since he was a little kid, really. He has learned to hate the world government as they're responsible for his childhood and being sold and betrayed by his entire country. I absolutely love that Oda-sensei baited us by saying that Kaido was captured and executed a bunch of times by the Marines, but as it turns out, most of the time he just escaped and let himself be recaptured whenever he became hungry, which is not only the most hilarious explanation for the strongest creature being captured that often, but it also ties in surprisingly nicely with the food theme of Luffy's dream again. Another really interesting detail in this entire thing I found was once again Big Mom's interaction with Kaido, because it really seems like these two used to have a much closer relationship than we originally thought. Linlin is almost behaving like a big sister here and is shocked to find out that Kaido once again vanished after Rocks was defeated by Garp and Roger. He vanishes a lot, it seems. And again, we still don't know how this all played out, but it sounds like at least these two were pretty close even after whatever went down at God Valley. But in a way, the most important reveal in this entire chapter, to me at least, was something that I had already been speculating for quite a while now and was nice to see confirmed. Because Kaido basically confirms to us that he's been trying to bring about the return of Joy Boy, and while King thought that it would be Kaido himself, Kaido was waiting for the one who could defeat him. Which is why he was so disappointed at the beginning that Luffy couldn't defeat him, only that Luffy came back not once, not twice, but 3 times if I'm counting correctly. Each time stronger and more determined than before. And the fact that Kaido remembers this conversation with King at the moment that he's punched down by Luffy, to me really shows that he is almost relieved and happy that Luffy has delivered such a massive blow and has been able to push him this far. I mean, even the flame clouds have vanished, which by the way has finally triggered Momo into fully summoning clouds of his own. And so now the big question is, of course, is Kaido defeated or not? While all of this clearly sets up our expectations for Kaido being defeated here and Luffy having run out of steam too, I personally would like to think that this fight isn't over. I mean, Luffy has come back a number of times in this fight already, but Kaido hasn't had to pull off a full comeback even once so far. I also still don't quite believe that we've seen his awakened form yet, and I would honestly like this battle to continue on for a little bit longer. I feel like Kaido will stand back up at some point. However, it doesn't necessarily have to be against Luffy really. I think the last panel shows us that Kaido has realized that Luffy is Joy Boy and is acknowledging his power. Luffy has overcome him in this moment. And so I would absolutely love to see Kaido getting back up to defend Luffy against the government forces or Blackbeard or whoever it might be that might try to take Luffy out while they still have the chance. And so Kaido defending Joy Boy and inheriting his will to free the world onto Luffy would be a fantastic redemption arc for his character, I think, that for whatever reason I really want to see for Kaido. Actually, if you want to know why, you really can't ignore this analysis video of Kaido I've done, and if you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to the channel for more?